Hello everyone, this is Sergeant Waffles, and today I have a video of the new DLC for Iron Brigade, which used to be called Trench. The DLC is called Rise of the Martian Bear, and if you played the original game, you would know that the main bad guy, Vlad, you end up killing him at the end of the game, which isn't much of a spoiler because there's not much story in this game anyway. But you think you kill him, and then at the start of the DLC, you find out that he implanted his consciousness into a bear, and now he goes to Mars. So, if you never played Iron Brigade before, it used to be called Trench, and it is basically a tower defense game similar to Dungeon Defenders if you played that, where you get scrap, which is their form of currency, and you can put down towers depending on the type of chassis you use for your trench. There's light towers, there's support towers, and heavy towers. Some trenches have more than one, but you can't have more than four. Like the trench I'm using, which is the McGarry Mark IV, which is a new one in the DLC, or at least a better version of one. It only has two light turrets, and the one I'm using is a massive machine gun turret and a massive flak turret. The massive machine gun turret is basically just an average turret. It's not like great at anything, but it does attack all the enemies, where the flak turret is stronger than the machine gun, but it only attacks the enemies in the air, and that's why I'm using those two. The other light turret would be a shotgun, which only attacks ground, but it's very strong. For support, there's a dampening generator, which will slow down enemies that get inside its radius. I don't remember what it's called, but there's another support that just collects scrap that goes over it, which yes, a collection prong. And that's not that great because I never really have a problem getting scrap. And for the there's also a repair crane, which if you stand next to it, it will repair your trench. And for the heavy turrets, there's a sniper turret, which is obviously long range. It has a low rate of fire, but it's very strong. Can kill pretty much any aerial enemy in one shot, and the ground enemies in one or two shots, depending on the enemy. Then there's a mortar turret, which obviously basically just shoots a grenade. And that is good for when there's a lot of... It only attacks enemies on the ground. And it's good if there's like a lot of enemies just crowded around each other because it has splash damage. And then there is mines. And the mine, when you put it down, it can't get destroyed. Like the monovisions, which is what the enemies are. Sometimes I call them tubes, but they're the same thing. They will go after your turret if they're shooting at it. Usually they'll go straight for the base, but sometimes they attack your turret. And if you have the mines, they have kind of a camouflage thing on it, and they will just walk past it. And the mine, before you upgrade it, when you first put it down, it just has about 3 mines. And then depending on its ability, some have a cluster, which when it explodes, it just explodes into more mines. And there's a shock mine, which when it hits that, they just get stunned for about a second or two. And you can upgrade everything twice. And in this game, unlike some other tower defenses, it is better to upgrade the towers you already have than to plant another one. For example, the machine gun, it starts off, for this chassis, since it is not an engineer chassis, it costs 48 scrap to put down. And it will do, for the machine gun I'm using, it does 0.9 damage a shot. But if I upgrade it for 72 scrap, it goes to 2.3, which is obviously more than twice as much, so it'd be better than putting another turret. So, if you, there's a lot of customization because there's the different kinds of trenches. There's the one I'm using, the McGarry, which is just a standard trench. There's a Carlson, which has 1 support and 1 light turret, but it also has 6 weapon slots, 3 on each side. And there's also an engineer. There's a couple engineers. There's the engineer chassis, one of them is called the Hammer, and that one, they're all different, like depending on which version of it is. But as of now, there's like Mark 1 all the way to 5. Some of them have 2 support, a light, and a heavy. Some of them just have 2 heavy and 2 light. They're all different. But generally, the engineers have very few gun slots. And the reason I chose this chassis for this mission is because really the only turrets you're going to need are flak turrets and the machine gun turrets, because you don't really need to slow anything down. So I just chose the flak machine gun, so I don't really have to run around the map killing everything. And with this trench, I have 3 machine guns on one side, and there's only 2 weapon slots in the other, so I put a burst fire sniper. And the reason I chose a sniper is because in this mission there is a vault chopper, which basically it will just bomb your bases, and it's usually very high up in the air and usually can't hit it with the machine gun, and obviously the sniper has the longest range. So depending on the mission, you're going to want to choose different trench chassis, different weapons, and you can also change the legs of the trench. For this mission, they're called the hot pants, which just allow you to sprint if you hold down A. And the ability they have is literally called hot pants. And it says it damages them, but I haven't noticed, like, I don't think I've ever killed anyone using it, so I don't think it actually does damage them. But if you do run into them using the hot pants, they will get stunned and not be able to attack. So someone else you're playing with can shoot them, or your turrets can shoot them. So you can, in every mission, you will get some loot at the end of it, whether it's a better turret or a better weapon. And the bigger enemies, like the vault dropper, there's also a Bertha, there's Arties, there's a new enemy in this DLC that's called an amplifier, which really isn't that strong, but it can get to your base pretty quickly. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you can unlock, and as of now, I believe there's about 15 levels. I'm not sure because I haven't completed the DLC yet, there might be more. But in the regular game without the DLC, there's 10 levels. And there are 3 different campaigns, excuse me, in the original game. You are in the Pacific, in Europe, and Africa. And all of them have about 4 or 5 missions. And then after that, there is a boss mission, which generally is like, you would play it much differently because you're not trying to defend a base, you just want to kill the boss. And also with this new DLC, they added survival mode. Previously, I believe mid-December, they added survival mode for the map Hospital, but in this DLC, for 2 out of the 4 maps, excluding the boss, you can play survival. You can play it on this map, Swamp, and I believe it's the second map in the DLC called Settlement that you can play survival on. And in survival, you obviously just try to survive as long as you can, but every 5 waves you get a unique piece of loot that you can only get during survival. Some of them are good, some of them aren't that great, but yeah, it's just a fun DLC. It's pretty long so far, and it's also very difficult. The first time I played this mission, I had to do it about 5 or 6 times. Partially because I haven't played in a while, but mostly because everything's just harder. Like each campaign gets drastically harder, and even though it's not that many missions, I still went back and replayed everything. By the time I beat it the first time, I wasn't level 10, which was the max level previously. I was only level 7 or 8. So I went back, got new loot, got higher weapons. And there's also 3 different medals you can get at the end of each mission, depending on how much health you have left in your bases. For example, in this mission, there's the bronze medal just for completing it. There's a silver medal for having your bases at half health. And then a gold for keeping your bases, I believe it's above 80% health. And there's certain achievements for, like, there's one achievement that when you beat everything with a gold medal, I think it's about 15 or 20 gamer score, but that had me going back and replaying it. And this game is 1,200 Microsoft points. This DLC is 400 Microsoft points, which is $5. And I think that's a good price, because it added a full campaign. Well, really just technically another continent, but the original game had 3 continents. So when you think about it, it's really just so it was like $15 for 3 continents, and just another $5 for a 4th one, which is a good price if you ask me. But there's not too much left to talk about, so I will just let you watch the rest of this video. There's about 2 minutes left, and yeah, see you later.
Here comes Big Willie. These guys are tough.
My trench is really taking a beating. Worried about it. machine gun if you don't mind. Bad situation, but we've been in worse. This one's for you, Tube. I am receiving injury. I think I can't help, however. Ooh, nice.